Julia Wester, and I have a question for you today. How often do you think people are just ridiculously wrong because they don't agree with your opinion? You might be thinking in binaries. So binary thinking means thinking in an either or kind of way. You've got two extremes, two viewpoints. One is right, usually yours, and the other is wrong. Just nothing in between. Okay. And while this can be really helpful in situations where the consequences of making quick decisions aren't so bad, or you don't have time to analyze everything, it might be good in those situations. That's not often the kind of situation that we're in society and at work, thinking about what our politics should be, what our work methodology should be. We have time and skills to do this analysis, and doing so can help us learn more about the way that we're thinking and help us make better decisions. So to do that, though, it requires a different kind of thinking, and it requires a lot more effort. It's easy to make quick binary decisions, but thinking about the positives of the viewpoints, looking into that, that's a lot of effort. It's called spectrum thinking, and it's moving from an either or to a both and. So that means seeing the two viewpoints and seeing that there's a little bit of good in here and a little bit of good in there, and somewhere in between lie a bunch of options, and we might find our best place of operating, our optimal balance, our logom. So one of the tools that we can use to help us think in spectrums is something called polarity mapping. This is from Dr. Barry Johnson. He wrote a book called Polarity Management, and it's really great to help us think through this kind of process. So to begin our polarity map, we look at two extremes, two viewpoints. Working software as our documentation, and, document all the things, right? And regardless of which viewpoint we fall in, we need to think about the positives of each viewpoint, each extreme. And so if I'm a hardliner in working software, I'm having to work hard and admit to the positive aspects or positive impacts that we might have from documentation. But you don't have to worry, because we're also going to look at the negative impacts of each viewpoint. So what are the negative aspects that I'd see, the negative impacts, if I over-focused on working software, if I completely ignored any documentation whatsoever? And then we do the same thing over here. What if I focused entirely on documentation and didn't give a crap about working software, right? What are the negative things that will happen? So if I'm thinking in all these four quadrants, I'm really stretching my brain away from my viewpoint and building those muscles of spectrum thinking. I'm allowing myself to realize that there's a place in between we should operate, and that's the first step. Okay. There's this tension between these two that's a healthy tension. Again, if neither one of these is the right answer, then it's like Dr. Johnson said, we don't have a problem to solve. Neither one of these is a solution. We're in a situation where we have to manage a balance between both. And what we want to do is stay right here on the upside. But sometimes that tension pulls us a little too far and we fall over the cliff into the negative sides. And so what we can do there is think about what are our early warning signs that we'd see if we start to fall into our negative outcomes. It's like you're monitoring, right? And so when your monitoring goes off, it's good to have thought ahead about what are the action items we'd take if these early warning signs appear. And once we do that, hopefully it brings us back into this upside, and we can be on a nice little virtuous cycle towards our common goal instead of continuing to spiral down into a vicious cycle towards the thing that we're all afraid of, right? There's a fear a lot of times in binary thinking that if we give in to the other side, bad things will happen. So we can confront that up front. Now, what I'd like to ask you to do this holiday season is to think about how you can help the world become just a little bit of a better place by helping people move away from thinking too much in binaries and thinking more in spectrums, to understand that we are trying to deal with these polarities, and a little bit of balance goes a long way. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas.